Hello. Now that my brain fog has lifted after this couple of days, I'm much more comfortable to speak a little bit more again. So, I did promise to speak about reactive abuse before I continue on to the few next subjects. So, without going too much into the actual theoretical details or science about what reactive abuse is, it's pretty simple. Reactive abuse is when a person does something to trigger you, you do end up reacting. We're all human beings, we all make mistakes. And instead of them acknowledging whatever they did to you, they point their finger at you about the reaction you just made. Let me give you an example. Not necessarily my own example, I'll give you my own. So, one of those best examples are people who cheat. And when they're caught cheating, instead of focusing on how they betrayed the person that loves them, never mind the reasons why they did it. It always starts with acknowledging the wrongdoing that you did yourself and then working through all of the issues that caused this on both sides. Because at the end of the day, yes, in every relationship, there's two to tango. In my own case, the last relationship, my issue was basically the codependency I developed, the lack of the boundaries, the lack of self respect. I allowed the person to belittle me and trigger me to the point where I became too emotional, too sensitive, as they said. So, these are the basic examples: cheating, catching people lying, all of these things. Let's say when it comes to lying, my own example is from my first relationship that matters, which is basically my first ex wife and my firstborn son, who is now a teenager. So, as he started first grade of high school, I was continuously in communication with him, asking how it's going, how things are going with him, how things are going at home, and of course at school. And for months, I've been noticing this weird dynamic when everything was really just okay and no deeper layer of conversation. Of course, I became suspicious, but I told myself sometimes it's better to say nothing and let things unravel themselves. My son knows when he came to visit after many, many years, he was able to come to visit me here alone and for more than just, let's say, 7 or 10 days. So we spent quite a bit of time together. And he told me how he was basically subjected to what we call now parental alienation or isolation. So when the other parent is telling twisted things to their children or lies, basically manipulating them in order to prevent contact, safe and healthy contact between the other parent and the child. I wasn't aware that that was going on, of course, and I wasn't aware that this is going on until my kid could tell me about this himself. So I told him, of all things that can happen, I don't care what he does. I wasn't in his life. It feels bad for me, but I wanted him to understand that he can always talk to me. He can always tell me anything he wants. And that I don't want any lies, even when something wrong happens. So, going forward, one day I receive a message from my first ex wife saying, Now I need you to step up to your father's role and deal with your problematic child. Just reading that message alone made me aware that I'm gonna have to call them both to a meeting. It wasn't a meeting in person, it was a video call over WhatsApp, but they both had to be present. At the end of the day, she is now also a professor at the same school where he's attending the school. So I did ask what was the issue. The issue was that more than a few months before this meeting, well, maybe 2 to 3 months, so early, very early, at his first grade of high school and moving to the dormitory, he did something that would have gotten him almost expelled. Now, fact is, it was the kind of mistake we all do as kids, as 15, 16-year-old teenagers. Nothing bad, just stupid. And my ex-wife, instead of focusing on the fact that this happens and it has to be addressed openly, especially because of her own influence in the past with regards to these specific matters, she instead decided to tell him that it's better not to tell me anything at all because I might get angry. Truth be told, I did get angry at both of them because they lied. I told my son that this is the last time in his life that he lies to me about anything, either, even though not so serious, but still bad enough that I have to react. So with him, we had a very long conversation following that. But where does the reactive abuse come at this point? Well, when I looked at my ex-wife and I said, please explain, why did you think teaching my child to lie to anyone was actually ever a good idea? And then I did say some quite harsh words because I honestly cannot appreciate that kind of parenting. The best she could do was what she always did, like any covert narcissist does. They go quiet, treat you with a silent treatment, walk out, stop talking, and they never respond with anything else other than, you need to apologize to me first. I made a funny short about that stuff already before. So the point is now how to stop yourself from becoming the abuser, of course in their own terms and in their own eyes, yourself. I know myself, and I know that for any and each and every one of you, this is the most difficult part to do, but it has to be done. You really, really have to know that the only thing and the only person you can control at that point is yourself. Detach from that emotional rush in that moment. Maintain your composure. Be logical and be cold. Even when they say you are so mean, you are so cold, you know the truth. You know that what you stand for is not to devalue their own feelings, is not to dismiss whatever their own little fantasy is all about, but you're standing for yourself. And the more quietly you do it, the more they will reveal about themselves at that point or any point later. But as soon as you see that things do not go as expected or as agreed, because always any one of us wants to give the other person another chance and another opportunity. And that's fine, that's fair. But just another one. Not one after another and after another, just one more. And if that person does not really commit to themselves and to you long term, which means more than 3 weeks, more than 2 months, trust is something that really needs to be not just built, earned, but once broken, really proven with hard work. So if that person made a big mistake, they broke your trust, like my son did, they need to know that from that point onwards, not a single one more mistake like that will be forgiven. You cut them off. And I do understand when children are involved, when family is involved, sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers, our own children, our own partners, best friends, people do change or cannot change. The time to set your own boundaries sometimes means to really cut people off. And it is the most difficult decision to do when it comes to the people closest to you. But believe it or not, it's the best thing you can do for them. Because as long as you're there, enabling yourself to be humiliated and enabling them to continue to be the abuser who blames everyone else for who they are and what they feel, how unhappy they are, you can rest assured they cannot stop. Some people can, some people can't. But it's not your responsibility to hold their hand when they keep really dragging you down themselves. The only thing you can do to prevent becoming the abuser yourself is to find anyway, anyhow, a place to go. And if there is no place to go, just trust. Just trust. There is always going to be somebody to offer you help. As long as you open up about it and you tell people that you need help, whatever the kind of help it is, people do come and help. I have also been helped in many ways by friends, by strangers, by co-workers, which I've worked like 10 years ago with. Unexpected corners. It did not help enough for me to be able to bounce back and bounce off yet, but it definitely helped me enough to see that I'm cared for, that people love me, and people really keep me in very good memories because either of what I've said or what I've done and how I affected them. And even though we can all affect people in positive and negative ways, when you need a reminder for yourself that you're a good person, you don't always have to look to those people. Just remember, you know the truth. You know the facts. Now keep your head calm and love yourself first, unconditionally. Peace.